Hey guys, this is Super Review for another episode of Why You Should Listen To. This is the show where I break down artists on Spotify that have different levels of streaming numbers, or the band or artist is just that good. You should definitely check these guys out, or check out this person, whoever. Today I'm going to be talking about The Killers. Now, for those of you who don't know who The Killers are, shame on you. They are one of the best bands out there at the moment. They came up in 2004 with the album Hot Fuss. And then they went to Sam's Town. They did Battleborn. I don't have any of their albums on vinyl, but or CD for that matter, because I listen to them on Spotify, whatever. But I just want to shed some light on why you should listen to The Killers, because this is if you're interested in bands that came out in the 2000s, if you're interested in bands that are mainstream enough to the point where they are still a band for a lot of people. If you say the Killers, you heard of them? Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. Like some people might actually say, oh, like Mr. Brightside, or oh, somebody told me. They will know who they are. They might not know their brand newer stuff, like because I know they're putting out a new album. I think this year in 2023, if I'm not mistaken. They just put out an album in 2020 and 2021, so they're working hard in the studio, man. It's hard to believe they're putting out new content that quickly, because if you think about it, Hot Fuss was 2004, 2005 or 6 was Sam's Town. 2008 was Day and Age. 2012 was Battleborn. 2017? Yeah, 2017 was Wonderful, Wonderful. And then 2020 was Imploding the Mirage. And then they just put out Pressure Machine after that, and now they just put out the single Boy. And this is a great band to get into. If you're a big fan of like modern rock, that's kind of like, for me, it's from my story with them is that I got into them over the past year or so, because I just started listening to them more and more. It's like, let me listen to Mr. Brightside. Okay, that's their big hit. They're gonna close out every show with that. Whatever, I'm fine with that. But then I got more into them, and I thought to myself, you know what? Man, this is a really good band to get into. Lyrically, they're really talented. Sound-wise, it's very modern. It's production, but it still sounds great, truthfully. It could last a long time. It's definitely not like how to explain it. It's definitely not like bad production. They always try to put out the best content they can. Like, for instance, their 2020 album, Imploding the Mirage. The song My Own Soul's Warning was great. They did such a good job with that song. And the production on it sounds great. And it opened up the album and everything. I love that track a lot. Battleborn, another great track. Runaways, a great song. This is a band that really took I would say they're a modern. I don't know if I'd call them alternative rock, but I'd call them modern rock with. I call them modern rock, alternative rock. Truthfully, some pop rock to an extent, because I know like Mr. Brightside gets played a lot on Sirius XM's channels, but at least Alt Nation plays a lot of their newer stuff too, which is really good. And they are one of the biggest bands to come out of the 21st century. Their first album, Hot Fuss, was huge in 2004 and 5. And then their whole, that's funny, actually. That's a funny time period for them, because I did a little research. Their lyrical style and them as a band in general changed as time progressed on. What I mean by that is, from Hot Fuzz, it was very much like a new wave-ish sound of like synths and keyboards and hard driving rock and roll, which was great for the time. Don't get me wrong. Especially on songs like Mr. Brightside, Somebody Told Me, Smile Like You Mean It. Those are just examples of that. But even on a soul like all these things that I've done, great song, a little bit slower, of course, but it definitely had that vibe of it, of what I'm trying to say. Then you go to Sam's Town, and apparently Brandon Flowers of The Killers, lead singer, he actually said at one point that he was trying to write songs that were focusing on artists that were more American. Because he said in an interview, I think it was in 2020, he said, I'm trying to relate to artists who didn't come out of England. So he's talking about Bruce Springsteen, he's talking about Tom Petty, he's talking about Jackson Browne. They just listed up a couple. He said like, the only other like foreign band was like U2, he mentioned. But I appreciate him for trying to, relate to a band, artist from America compared to England. Nothing against Manchester, nothing against England. You guys are great. We love you out there. But Brandon Flowers just said in an interview, he's like, we're trying to relate to an artist. This is back in 2006 or 7. That's when they made their album Sam's Town with the musical transition that they did that they did there. So it was just a very different transition. Threw a couple of people off, but it worked out well. I think it worked out well. In fact, speaking of Springsteen, they actually did a version of their song Dustland Fairy Tale, but it was called Dustland featuring Bruce Springsteen. It came out in 2021. It's a great single. Highly recommend you check it out. It's a revamped version of that song. It's a reimagined version of that song. I did see them live in September 30th of 2022. And I was so mad because this just happens with my luck. So I saw Coldplay in June of 2022. And they were there for 2 nights, right, in the area. And sure enough, Bruce Springsteen comes out the second night. What happens at the Killers concert? I go the first night, Springsteen comes out the second night, and he did the entire encore with Badlands, Dustland Fairy Tale with Bruce Springsteen and Jay Clemens on stage. And then the last song was Born to Run. My favorite song in the whole wide world. Killers, I want a refund. I was so upset. I couldn't believe it. I was like, man, that really just sucks. And I saw the footage that night. I was like, no. I was like, I missed him again. It would have been so fun though. Damn it. I'm so close. Anyways, the Killers. They're big. They are a really big band nowadays, and they still have albums. They're not afraid to put out albums that have changed too. Like they got so into Bruce. Apparently, their album Pressure Machine was a concept album, very much based on Bruce Springsteen's album Nebraska is not a concept album, but it is an album that it was heavily based on. So, truthfully, if you hear the new album Pressure Machine by the Killers and you have not heard Bruce Springsteen's Nebraska, go back and listen to that first, because that's where they heavily drew inspiration from for that album. It's the whole thing about it. It's just you have to go back and listen to that album to understand, like stylistically, not lyrically, but just stylistically, for where Pressure Machine came out. And then now they're working on another album. I'm curious to see where they go. I mean, I liked their past couple I liked everything they've done so far. I really have. I've liked everything they've done so far, and I'm really excited to see more from them because I saw them live, and I'm really excited to see them. So, but why should you listen to the Killers? Why should you listen to the Killers? Well, in my eyes, they're a band that's going to be around for a long time. They're going to be around for a very long time. They have a lot of longevity ahead of them. Truthfully, I mean, I feel like this is a big, bold thing to say. I feel like they're the next Green Day as far as longevity goes. Since Green Day's been around since 1988. If you think about it. If you do the research, Green Day's been around since 1988, and they're still going well to this day. But if you look at the Killers, they came out in 2004 or 5. That's over 20 years ago now at this point. Almost 20 years ago now. So Hot Fuzz turns 20 in next year. Wow. So you feel old yet, anyone? But I feel like this is a band with longevity. I feel like this is a band with good legs under them. And I think that this is a very good band that you should get into. Their styles and influences have changed over the course of a lot of their albums. I know some people nitpick them of they write like weird lyrics or like their style has changed. Bands evolve over time. You can't be locked into a niche of like, I'm going to strictly write heavy metal all the time. Metallica does it. They do it well. Don't get me wrong. I've heard people say to me, "Oh, well, I don't like new Bon Jovi." Well, Bon Jovi, he doesn't care what you think. He's going to put out music that he wants to put out. End of story. Then you want to talk about evolution of a band? Look at that band. They started out as a heavy hair metal hard rock band, and look, they went to like a pop, easy adult contemporary listen, type of band, which is crazy. It's true. It's true though. It's a good transition to have for a band. But the Killers, I feel like they're going to be around for a long time. I feel like you can go see them in the next 10 years, and they'll still be able to sell it anywhere they go. And Brandon Flowers is a great frontman for the band. He did a really, really, really good job live. I saw them. Well, I've only seen them once, but I can honestly tell you that they were really just a fun band to go see live, and they play very well. They're like a tight band too. You know what I mean? Songs were great. All the song choices were fantastic. Sometimes they bring out guests too. And like they brought up Bruce at the Garden, but also in California they brought up Lindsey Buckingham from Fleetwood Mac to play "Go Your Own Way." So there you go. Just saying. Anything's possible at a Killers concert, of course. But what do you guys have to say about this? Are you a Killers fan out there? Jump down in the comment section below, share your thoughts on this video, and like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and don't forget to follow us on our social media as well, simply at The Super Review Show. But for all of your why you should listen to videos and many more, keep it locked on The Super Review Show. The J-Man is off to rock. We'll see you guys later.